Today I want to show you how to put together the medium tumbler explosion box from Simply Crafty SVGs. So first we start by putting together the panels. So I didn't do them all on video, but we take the smaller panel and center it on the larger background panel. This is all optional. You don't have to do this to make the box. You can do it without the panels. But there's 4 larger side panels, 4 smaller side panels. That's the lid panel, and then the lid side panels, which are these smaller ones. So we wanted to put these together first. I think it's easier putting the panels on the box before we actually put the box together. The explosion boxes are quite simple, especially when we're using them for packaging. Because usually the other explosion boxes that you may have seen are for gifts, where it looks like a box. You open it up and it reveals gift cards, sayings inside. Some people make them into albums. But this is just a different way of gifting a personalized tumbler. So you would open up the lid, and the sides would fall down to reveal the tumbler. So first we're going to assemble. So we're going to assemble the lid. So we're go ahead and make sure that you fold on all the scores. My score lines were created with a Cricut Maker scoring wheel, so that's why you don't see dashes, because we do have solid lines in our an optional file. You can use the solid lines rather than the dash lines. And this is how the panels will go on. So I'm just making a decision how I want to place that particular panel, because of the pattern paper I used. And this is an interesting paper. It is a pretty thick cardstock, that wood texture, but it was fun. I had to buy the pack. I'll have the information below. I bought it a couple months ago. I knew I wanted to use it for something, so I thought this would be fun. So go ahead and center each of the panels, the already pre-assembled panels. I'll jump ahead to show you all the panels on. Don't need to watch me add glue to every single panel here. And we're going to put together the lid. So simply we'll add glue to the side tabs. And then you'll just slip them under the adjacent side, and then align that edge up to the tab fold. And you can feel with your finger that it's aligned, and then you can apply pressure with inside and outside to that tab. You want to make sure it's good and flat inside, because you don't want it getting stuck when you put the lid on. They're pretty big tabs. I did that on purpose. I think sometimes it just makes it a little sturdier. Again, you could do this without or with the panels. You could omit, or you could put just solid panels on too. With embossing, you can emboss them if you're into paper embossing. It does take quite a few pieces of paper to make this box, so it's one of those special dealies. You see, another trick I like to use, and I use it a lot, is once I glue the tabs or the tabs to the inside, I like to apply pressure against the table, especially if it's a square box. So you get it lined up, and then apply pressure against the table. I am using a American Crafts cardstock, which is in the notes below, because that's my preferred cardstock for most of my 3D projects, unless I need something a little bit heavier. So the lid's done. We'll go on to the actual box portion, and you see those top parts are kind of cut, so you can so they'll flap down when you open the box. So what we want to do is make sure we fold forward and backwards. Get a really good backwards. We're going to score it with a valley fold, which is like this, and we want it to be able to flap down. So you want to make sure you have a good, and they're kind of flimsy when so they can fall open easily. And then we'll add the panels just like we did with the lid. And then only after that we'll assemble the actual bottom of the box. So now that the panels are all on, we'll glue these two sides together. So you just want to add the glue to that left-hand side tab. You can start obviously with the right side, but it doesn't make sense. Anyways, and then go ahead and align that edge up to the tab fold, making sure it's also aligned with that bottom fold. And then apply pressure. Then we'll fold it over and glue the other tab similarly. So you know that the intention of this is to have a box that when you lift the lid, those top flaps fall over. So we only have to glue this bottom piece. So go ahead and line the best you can here. You kind of have to move it around to make sure it's nice and straight. Especially with that cut on the top. It doesn't look like it's straight, but it is. And then once you have that, we'll put together, glue the bottom pieces. So you just want to kind of put it on its side like this. And we're going to kind of glue we're going to put a big piece in. So we're going to take that big piece, fold it in, and glue the side tabs. So we have a double bottom for support, but we do have an optional additional support piece that you can add in there if you need to. So you want to add glue to one of those side tabs, fold it over, and just make sure that that bottom edge is aligned to the inside of the tab fold, and then you can lift that to get your hand in better to apply pressure. You could always flip it over and apply pressure against the table too. You just have to be careful with all those those big cut pieces kind of flopping down. It just makes it a little bit awkward. So again, fold that over, and those will be hidden by the last big flap on the bottom. So if it's not all the way down, you could always add a little bit more glue, or just glue this last portion, fold it over and glue it. And then it'll hide all that. It'll get it all good and ready. It looks like I used a little bit too much glue, so be careful with your glue. It was leaking through a little bit. I started to put it on the actual other bottom piece, the flap, but decided the glue placement is better on the bottom. And then you can just fold it over and adjust it to make sure it aligns up properly. So I'm just reaching in to apply pressure from the other side. And then you can flip over, and this is where it's really easy to apply pressure. Getting your hand in there because of the size of it. Much easier. And if you needed an additional support, there's another little cutout piece that you can optionally cut, but here's the insert and here's that little support piece. So you could put that in as well to give it just a little bit more support if you needed. But if you're using 80-pound or greater weight cardstock, that should be heavy enough. Then I'm just folding over the sides of the insert. You don't glue it, you just kind of slide it in. Just try to make it easy, so that's one less thing to do. And then you can just put the tumbler in. Then you just fold up the sides and add the lid. And you can add a bow or something, but that's what it looks like. You would want to hold it from the bottom. And then just here's another angle with my fingerprint undecorated tumbler. Kind of fold them up, put the lid on, and then when the person opens it, just lifts the lid, they'll flap down. It was a fun project. I think it would be fun to give as a gift, and I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for watching.